Hey everyone. Today we're diving into one of the toughest, most stressful, and honestly, most misunderstood topics for families living with autism: challenging behaviors. But here's the thing, we're going to shift the whole conversation. We're moving away from just managing these behaviors and toward truly understanding them. So let's start with what this reality actually feels like. Does any of this sound familiar? I mean, these aren't just hypotheticals. These are real-life snapshots, these incredibly intense moments that can leave parents and caregivers feeling completely overwhelmed, totally isolated, and just exhausted. And if this is your reality, the first thing to know is you are so not alone. These challenges are everywhere, and they can test even the strongest families. You know, the constant stress, the worry, the feeling of being watched in public. It's a heavy, heavy weight to carry. This right here is the single most important shift in perspective we can possibly make. What if the screaming or the hitting isn't about defiance? What if it's actually a voice, a desperate, last resort way of saying, I'm in pain, or I'm terrified, or I have no idea what's happening? This one idea is the key that unlocks a completely new way of thinking. So let's put on our detective hats, because to find solutions that actually work, we have to investigate the scene. We have to find the root cause, the why behind what's happening. And this isn't about placing blame, not at all. It's all about understanding. So here's the first rule of our detective work. Behavior doesn't just come out of nowhere. It always serves a purpose. Think of it like a tool that a person has learned to use to either get something they want or need, or to escape something they just can't handle. And once you see it that way, the behavior stops being the problem and starts being a clue. A really simple but incredibly powerful tool for our detective kit is something called the ABC model. A is for antecedent, what happened right before the behavior. B is for behavior, what was the action itself. And C is for consequence, what happened immediately after. Just by tracking these three things, you can start to see patterns that are totally invisible in the heat of the moment. And you know, the trigger isn't always something obvious in the room. A lot of the time, the root cause is biological. It's hidden. Undiagnosed pain from GI issues like reflux, the confusion from a seizure, or just pure exhaustion from not sleeping. All of that can come out looking like challenging behavior simply because the person doesn't have the words to tell you what's really wrong. And this is exactly where being a detective can change everything. Just take Sam's story, which his mom shared. He was constantly going to the nurse's office, showing all these odd behaviors, and it wasn't about getting out of class. It was about pain. As soon as they figured out he had reflux and got him treated, the behaviors just stopped. That's the power of finding the real why. Hearing this directly from a young woman with autism, wow, it's just so powerful. She makes it crystal clear. The hitting, the biting, the running, that was her only tool to escape when she had no other way to say how distressed she was. It was never about wanting to hurt someone. It was about survival. Okay, so if you're the lead detective, who's on your investigative team? Because let's be honest, this is a tough case to crack. And the great news is, you absolutely do not have to do it alone. In fact, you shouldn't. Putting together a team of pros is one of the most important things you can do. So your team might have a BCBA, a board-certified behavior analyst, who's an expert at decoding the function of a behavior. You might have a speech-language pathologist who can build new ways for your child to communicate what they need. An occupational therapist can help tackle sensory overload, when sounds are too loud or textures feel painful. And of course, medical specialists are key for finding those hidden physical causes. Every single one of them brings a vital piece to the puzzle. And who is the most important person on that team? It's you, the parent, the caregiver. You are the world's leading expert on your child. One parent talks about how she just created a simple 3-ring binder with her daughter's reports and team info. That notebook, she says, empowered her to lead the team, to make sure everyone was working together. You are the team leader. All right, so once we have our team and we've got a better handle on the why, now we can shift our focus to the how. How do we actually help? And the goal isn't just to stop a behavior. It's to build new skills that make that old behavior totally unnecessary. To do that, we need a toolbox filled with positive strategies. A really powerful first step can be surprisingly simple. For a lot of people with autism, the world can feel chaotic, unpredictable, and scary. A visual schedule just like this one creates structure. It lets a person know what's coming next. And when you know what to expect, your anxiety plummets, and so does the need to act out because you're stressed. Okay, it's really important to talk about the difference between two big approaches: punishment Well, it might stop a behavior for a minute, but all the research shows it just doesn't work long term. In fact, it often makes things worse by increasing fear, and it doesn't teach a replacement skill. Positive reinforcement, on the other hand, is all about building new skills, strengthening your relationship, and rewarding the behavior you do want to see. Now, one of the most powerful tools in that positive toolbox is called functional communication training. The idea is brilliant and simple. If a behavior is serving a function, let's teach a better, easier way to serve that same function. So instead of hitting to get out of a tough homework problem, we teach the person to use a card that says break, or to just say, I need a break. Same result, but a much better, safer way to get there. And this right here, this is what that breakthrough looks like in real life. This parent talks about the patient, repetitive work of teaching their child to just point to a cup when he was thirsty instead of having a meltdown. They did it, as they say, hundreds of times. But then it clicked. He pointed. He got what he wanted. He was learning how to ask. That is a life-changing moment. All right, finally, we have to be realistic. Even when you have the best team and the best strategies in the world, tough moments can still happen. Crisis situations can still pop up. And being prepared for them isn't about expecting to fail. It's about making sure everyone stays safe when things get hard. Having a good crisis plan that you develop with your team is just essential. It should clearly spell out the early warning signs you can look for, the specific steps you can take to de-escalate, who to call for backup, and, most importantly, how to keep your loved one and yourself physically safe until the storm passes. And through every step of this, please, please don't forget about yourself, your energy, your patience, your well-being. They aren't endless. You really can't pour from an empty cup. Asking for help, finding a support group, taking 5 minutes to just breathe, that's not selfish, it's essential. So let's end on this note. This whole journey, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Remember to see the incredible resilience in your loved one. Find the joy in those little moments, the things they do that make you laugh, and celebrate every single win, no matter how small it might seem to anyone else. Just celebrate the successes, one at a time.